The Saturday was a weird one for many, many reasons. And you wouldn't really think after disqualification knee in a title fight that someone's press conference after their fight would have got much coverage. But that is not the case with Dominic Cruz because it was strange. So for anyone that doesn't know, give us a little debrief on the situation.
So he must really not like this Hans guy, right? Because he called him out. He's like a executive at Monster who I've seen him before. I didn't really know much about him, but I've done some research. So like that was Dom's moment, right, to call out this geezer. So there must be some hostile feelings there. For anyone that doesn't know who this fella is, you would have seen him, right? You would have seen the video circulating of him with Masvidal and DC. He's like kicking Pringles out of their hand or something when they're eating it without them knowing and recording it. So if you would have seen that if you're not a casual. But yeah, you kick food out of my hand, we're gonna fight. So what are your thoughts on it? Weird call out.
It is weird because the whole situation is he is affiliated with Monster Energy, right? And his
Yeah.
job. Well, if you actually have a look at his Twitter bio, he has 201 jobs. That is ridiculous. But his actual job is something to do with endorsements and sponsorships and whatnot. So he has the sort of rapport with fighters, or supposed rapport. Now, what Dominic Cruz basically came out and said, and what Adesanya as well has had a problem with in the past, is basically that he makes them do things, and as I'm saying that out loud, it sounds much weirder than I intended it to. He makes them do certain things to basically earn their keep, but things that are not your standard put a monster cap on when you have an interview, not things like that.
Yeah.
Things like comment on his photos and get a photo with him and all these sort of outside of working sort of relationship, if you
Yeah.
like. So he basically just gets as much clout as possible, is what Dominic Cruz was saying. Adesanya's had a very, very similar thing. What was interesting, so basically that's why he called the geezer out, because he's trying to screw over a lot of fighters basically and saying, if you don't do these things, I'm going to take your contract away from me. Very interesting press conference came from Dana on the post 259, because he basically said, it was firstly quite strange, which it was, but he came out and said,
Yeah.
Monster as a whole are a very, very good company. They look after the fighters very well. They don't sort of work for him, if that makes sense. They work for Monster. But then he also said, Monster's its own company and it's sponsoring and endorsing players, and it can do that completely how it likes. So if it doesn't want to give you a sponsorship, it doesn't have to give you a sponsorship. You're not owed anything, I think, is what he was getting at, which is quite an interesting stance.
Yeah, it's a weird storyline coming out of 259. I don't know whether or not they'll make that fight happen, but it's definitely brought to light this Hans guy, and maybe if he doesn't get the fight, he's exposed him for being somewhat of a
Strange fella.
manipulator
Yeah, that could be a better word, to be
of
fair.
contracts.
I do think that realistically, after him just coming off his win, Dominic Cruz that is, and being a very, very big name in the UFC, do I think that Dana White is going to allow him to go and fight this geezer for a charity match? Maybe not
I'm not
even
trying to
sort
watch
of.
that.
I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. So I think he'll do very, very well to get anything out of that. But it is interesting because they obviously sponsor the UFC at the moment. So it's a bit of a
Yeah.
weird relationship going on, because you don't want to sort of, you are affiliated to them. So
You
you
don't
have to,
you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, but you've got to address
yeah,
the behaviour. It's
exactly.
a weird time. I'm not trying to see that next for Dominic Cruz.
Bantamweight.
I don't know who I'd rather see him fight. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the division now. Bear with. There's a lot of good fights for him, and that's just not one of them,
Bantamweight's
if I'm
actually
being honest.
pretty
Like,
heavy at the
uh,
moment, to be fair. It's pretty stacked.
Bantamweight's stacked right now. Yeah, so like a Rob Font of the world, Marlon Moraes would be a good fight. Aldo would be a sick fight.
Moraes has got to
Edgar would
fight.
be a classic. I know who's he fighting. Tell me. I actually don't know off the top of my head. But the Aldo fight's a great fight. You give me Jose Aldo versus Dominic Cruz or Dominic Cruz versus Hans Molenkamp. Like, is that even a real name?
I thought
It
it was
sounds
the
like the
geezer.
character from Simpsons.
Simpsons. First time you see
Exactly.
it, I thought
Yeah.
no one calls out no one calls out Mole Man.
Can't fight him. Yeah. Hans Mole Man.
Nobody loves
I didn't know
Mole
he was. So he's
Man.
giving the
Yeah,
geezer a lot of clout, which is exactly what he wants by the sounds of it. So
what
interesting one, definitely.
Hands, not Mole
Yeah.
Man. Not Mole Man.
Not
Okay,
Mole
right.
Man, actual Hans. He's
Well,
giving him a
this
lot of
is
clout,
it.
which
All publicity is good publicity. And does this fella strike me as someone who's going to be annoyed about someone saying something negative about him in the press? Absolutely not. I think his whole social media, by what I've seen, is just a walking, talking joke. So I don't think he takes himself too seriously. He goes up like sort of behind players and gets someone to take a photo of him. Like he'll go next to Khabib's show and he'll have captions like the Eagles are soaring. Something. This guy's not serious. Like he doesn't care about all of this. But I think a Dominic Cruz Jose Aldo fight, both coming off wins, by the way, is a nice matchmake.
Take my money.
And that is all from us at Casuals Corner today. Peace.